Where's my coffee, for God's sakes?
I know. You got to have it.
I think the drummer took it. Hey, give me my coffee back.
I think he's got it.
Morning.
Good morning, Brendan. Always glad seeing you first thing. You folks appreciate what this guy does. We were talking before the show. These reels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, it's everywhere. He's got 8 live streaming right now. Take your phone, subscribe,
like
share, and like. It's Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, 8 of them live. But then afterwards, there's stuff being shared everywhere. But smash the button.
9 times.
9 times. Yeah, Brendan's right, though. It's simple. Smash the button, share it, like it, subscribe. Got a great lineup today. We'll start off with Jason Caldwell. Auburn undercover, one of the best in the business. He ain't trying to get it first. He's going to get it right. And we'll be on with him, followed up by Chris Lee of Southeastern 16 up in Nashville, Dudley Dawson inside Arkansas, and Vince Ferrara going to try and do it in transit from Knoxville right after his show over to Nashville for the SEC tournament. So, hey, Jason, always love having you on. You're a grounder and an elevator. You ground everybody because you think you're pragmatic. People panicking and worrying. We were down in Fairhope with a bunch of people with Yan Cowart and John Hartwell watching that Auburn game. And, you know, it's like Alabama people were in the bar. We were in there. I was sitting there thinking to myself, first-year coach Stephen Pearl, first-year coach Todd Golden, 16 and 17. It's working out for him. What were your takeaways from just Saturday night, the Iron Bowl of basketball, but also what you think will happen heading into the tournament in Nashville first and then beyond?
Yeah, no, when you start looking at it, look at this team look, they won in Gainesville, which is probably it is the best win in the league this year, without question. It's one of the best wins in college basketball this year. So we've seen the potential for this team. It's just been I won't say the letdowns, because I thought this team was going to struggle. They built a brand new team. You put pieces together, and you're not going to put every piece together when you add 10, 11 new guys. It's just not going to happen. You look at how Todd Golden in Florida's done it, and look at how Dusty May in Michigan have done it. You add 4 or 5 guys. And Auburn did that really last year with a Final Four run. You add a couple of key pieces to a roster that's already there, and that's how you have success. Texas A&M's been kind of the outlier this year when you add 10 new players and still make the tournament, which I think they'll do. Yeah. But that's not a team that's a Final Four team. They had a couple of wins that they probably snuck in, and it's probably the difference in them getting in or not. But look, this team is more talented than what they've done at times this year. That's like the loss at Mississippi State and the home loss at Ole Miss are the two that kind of stand out. You look at those 2 games and you win those 2 games, and there's no bubble talk at all. You're in and everything's fine. Now, honestly, I know people have said, look, a couple of wins. I still don't see it. At the 7-11 in the SEC, I still think there's going to be some other bubble things that happen that's going to push Auburn back. I think you probably got to beat Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt, in my opinion. And can this team do that? Yeah, they can. But they can also lose Mississippi State today, which we've seen. So, look, it's the future now, and we saw, like you mentioned, Todd Golden. The future is, what can you add for year 2, and can you get the pieces that you want to play with? And for Stephen Pearl, that's going to be, can you find some guys better defensively? Can you add a couple of bigs to help you add to what you got? And then, look, can you keep some of these players? Can you keep Sebastian Williams-Adams and Philip Jovich and Kevin Overton and Elijah Freeman? Can you keep what I think is that core group of 4 guys and build around them for next year? All those things determine what year 2 looks like. And right now, look, you still got some things to do in year 1. But I think there's obviously a hugely uphill battle in Nashville this week for this team.
Well, you think about Stephen Pearl was regarded as a great defensive coach, great recruiter, played for his dad, coached with him for 11 years. Again, he moves 18 inches to the left. It's totally different. Is he able to focus and put as much energy into coaching defense as he is being a head coach? I would think it's hard to do that. That's what a lot of coaches have always told me, and you too. When you become a head coach, if you're not careful, you don't get to coach much.
Yeah, it's more difficult, but look, you don't forget it either. And so I think because of that, I think this team is. Well, look, I said it's going to be a struggle because I didn't think this team was going to be what they had in the past. You didn't have the big to bail you out on the back end of things, and then look there when you start getting into the season, you see look they're not as good defensively on the perimeter.
Yeah.
And so I thought this team was going to have its struggles. I was pretty adamant about that from the beginning. I did not think this roster was constructed in a way that was going to make them, and that's the hard part is you take over a Final Four team, and people go like, well, what happened? Well, what happened was always what was going to happen. I said it. I didn't think Coach K or Bruce Pearl, whoever, you weren't going to snap your fingers and make this team a Final Four team. Wasn't going to happen. The issue is you lost those 3 or 4 games that you should have won or could have won, and that's the difference in having to fight to get into the NCAA tournament at the end of the day. And some of that is inexperienced coaching probably, but some of that is roster makeup. Some of that is probably attitude on the roster. It's everything. It's not one thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. So you look at these players, and Kevin Skarbinski on this channel does a show, Scarbo Knows, talked about maybe it was said by somebody in that locker room, we didn't sign up for this. We signed up to play for Coach Bruce Pearl. And whether that was said or not, I don't know. But building a roster, Keyshawn Hall, 4th school in 4 years or whatever, no matter how much money you spend, Kentucky spent allegedly 22. And you said Auburn didn't take a back seat to anybody. It's not about the money. It's about the mixing them together. And you're right. I don't think if Bruce Pearl was coaching this team, they'd have been much better. Do you?
No, I because again, you can't sign 10 guys and go, well, boom, here we go. We're going to be as good as we were last year. Like I said, I mentioned Texas A&M. They've signed 10 new players. They only have 1 player over 6'7" that is really a contributor for that team. They've done it by style of play, which is pressing, running up down the court, and making threes. I thought that's how this team was going to play, this Auburn team. The problem for them is that defensively they weren't good enough to get stops. And then, as they said, it is hard to run when you're taking the ball out of the basket every time. You don't have a lot of fast breaks when the other team makes, and that's been the issue for them. Is they just defensively haven't been good enough, and so because of that, I think it's impacted their style of play. And I think more than anything, that was the issue. Like I said, I don't know that it would be much different no matter who was coaching. Probably a couple of games here or there, and that's the difference in being there or not. But again, that's I think everything rolled into one for this roster, and now. Look, you got a lot of work to get done here in the next couple of days.
Well, I think back to February or March of 2020, year after that Final Four team. Auburn goes up to Knoxville and wins 84-64, and then the virus hits, and they don't go to the tournament. That next year, 21, that was a struggle. But I just look at Stephen Pearl's DNA. You talk to a lot of smart people. You're around him. He's back next year. You think there's going to be a full court press? I mean, that people that say that you're absolutely nuts. That's dumb. Because think about if you were in that position and the first week of practice, hey, you got a coaching change. That's a 5-alarm fire. So where does Auburn look? Who are some targets? You hearing any names? It's early, but you got to have an idea.
Yeah, well. You won't have an idea until guys get in. I'm sure it's like football.
Yeah.
Sure there's guys that are getting talked to going, hey, if you plan to get in the portal, we'd love to have you, that kind of thing. Every team does that. That's just the way this thing works nowadays, and they've opened up that door to allow it to happen. But, yeah, no particular names now, but I think you know what you need if you're Auburn. You need a couple of big guys. Jovic is a guy that – Jovic and Sebastian Williams-Adams, if you could hold on to those guys, give you 2 power forward type guys, you're going to need a couple of bigs. There's no question about that. And then Todd Pettiford, he's played better down the stretch here these last few games, done some good things. I would still be surprised if he was back at this point. But even if he is, I don't expect Cade Magwood to return, who has basically disappeared on the bench. So you're going to need a true point guard.
Yeah.
You need a guy to run the show and do the things you want to do. And then you're going to need another shooting scorer guy. So I think at 4 guys at a minimum, and that's if you hold on to those guys and keep a couple of extras. So I think it feels more like Michigan, where you're going after a couple of top flight bigs. Of course, the problem is everybody in the country is going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Everybody's going after those guys too, because that's the offensive tackle of the basketball world is a big. Even if you got 4, you want one more. And so I think that's the case this year. Auburn, you're going to have to go spend some money on a couple of bigs, point guard, and a guy that can shoot it from the perimeter. I think those are the pieces that you get. We'll see who they are.
Well, the one reason why I know Auburn will get it fixed is there's no apathy. I mean, social media, it's out there. You see it on the message boards with Auburn Undercover 247. Auburn fans are now getting as mad after basketball losses as they do football losses. And basketball has carried Auburn these last 5 years or so because it's been so good. But apathy is what will be the end of the program. And it's just not, I don't see apathy. Everybody's got an opinion on Auburn basketball.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, yeah, there's not apathy. There hasn't been apathy in football either.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't mean you can't have losing seasons. You got to make the right decisions. You got to get the right players. Those are the things. And listen, I was thinking about this because like Kentucky is the one you think about pointing to Kentucky, but look at North Carolina. North Carolina, I mean, that's as good a program as in the history of this country. Kansas, look, they've all had seasons where they weren't very good. And you go, man, how'd that happen? Well, it just happens. Yeah. This one happened because, look, you had a lot of factors and extenuating circumstances. Will you get it fixed in 1 year? Will it take a couple of years? It may never get fixed again under Stephen Pearl. You might have to do something else. We don't know. But that's the point of this now is, look, you have nothing to do now but to try to fix it. And that's what they'll try to do. And I haven't been laughing, but the people that have such short-term memory about Auburn basketball, like, well, I can't even watch this anymore. They're on the bubble. Yeah. There have been a bunch of years where Auburn's bubble burst about 2 games into a conference schedule and is already over with. Yeah. People need to appreciate, look, this team is still right there. That's still better than about 90% of Auburn basketball teams in the history of this program. Yeah. So it hasn't fallen off a cliff. It just hit a bump. We'll see if they can get over the hump.
Yeah. Real quick, the Fighting Butch Thompsons, man. I know baseball is probably your biggest love of all, and you're great on the broadcast. People hear you because they say, Brandon, you were right. Jason, you're really, really good. Did you play baseball at Sylacauga?
I did. That was my sport growing up. That's kind of was always my first love, and played baseball pretty much my whole life. And so that was the one. And then obviously 27 years of covering Auburn baseball here has given me a lot of baseball and, I won't say insight, but get to know players and know coaches, and that helps a lot.
Well, and the other thing, Kevin said at the state championship, Winona and Sylacauga, they have a new jersey on the front of the jersey. Is it called Marble City or what is it?
It was Marble City. That was it. They wore the Marble City jerseys. It did not work out very well in the state championship game, however. Yeah,
and how good is Winona? Wow, 42 games. Kevin said he watched. How many? You were there for a lot of that. What an event in Birmingham. That's big.
Yeah, they played about as well as any team I can remember. Sylacauga did not play very well. Missed a bunch of shots early and fell into a huge hole, and then it's over with after that. But Winona's a really good team, and so it was fun, and a couple of really good, women's basketball players that got a chance to see. I watched a couple on TV that I thought were spectacular, and so it's going to be good young players in the state for sure.
Yeah, well, and it's great. We've talked the whole thing about basketball, not even any football. We'll get to that later. But Jason, are you heading to Nashville?
I'm not. I'm actually heading to Missouri with Auburn baseball, so I'll go SEC opener for them. Nathan and Patrick are already in Nashville. They were there yesterday. Yeah. We got videos of press conference, videos from practice, stories from Nashville already, and so they'll be there as long as Auburn keeps playing. So we'll have coverage from east and west of the Southeastern Conference this week in different sports.
Yeah, and I want to say it again, man. Every time I go to that website, I miss Philip Marshall's musings and everything like that. You have been mentored and worked with some of the best. Mark Murphy, Philip Marshall. What a blessing. Let's do it again next week and tell people how they can follow you, and we'll let you go.
Yep, check us out at auburnundercover.com, part of the 24/7 network, and find me on Twitter and Instagram, all those things at ITAT Jason, and all those social media platforms. So come check us out.
All right. Thank you so much, man. Have a safe trip.
Thanks,
Chris Lee, Southeastern 16. Say, what is that saw? That hat's upside down. I'm trying to figure out what this is. Mavs. Well, what does
Mavs,
that say?
It's my son's travel ball team. He's in that organization, which is a Christian based.
I love that. Another out of Nashville.
Rally hats is what that looks like.
This is what the cool kids do these days.
The
question, why do I have one? But anyway,
I love it. Hey, Chris, yesterday I'm driving either back from Memphis to Memphis. I love it. I get the YouTube ding. I'm subscribed to your show on your channel, Southeastern 16. Put out a lot of great content. Football, basketball, baseball. Again, talking to Jason Caldwell, so many people's true loves is baseball, and what a conference to be a part of. Before we get into that, I want to ask you about this SEC basketball tournament. It's in Nashville, right there in your backyard, Bridgestone Arena, downtown. Nashville's become the new Las Vegas, man. I was up there late October at dinner downtown at Bricktop. You just see mobs of people running around in crazy clothes. 3 or 4 days, they just go crazy and forget about it ever happened. I love Nashville. I like old country music. That new stuff today, I call it crap. It's a combination between country and rap. Crap. But I love Nashville, and I may be able to sneak up for a day or two. Let's lay the groundwork. Who's in most desperate need? Start with your Vanderbilt Commodores and Mark Byington. What a job he's doing.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job. They're a 4 seed for the tournament. They're probably a 5 for the NCAAs, but there's opportunity. You beat Tennessee and certainly you beat Florida, and I would think that would be good to move them up to the 4 line or maybe the 3 line. 3 would maybe be a little bit of a reach, but they have an opportunity here to move up. I don't know that they move past a 5 in the wrong direction. I'd have to go look at how close they are to everybody else, but I mean they're in really good shape to get a winnable game in the first round, which they've not won an NCAA tournament game since 2011 now.
Wow. Well, when Bryce Drew was there, they had their first losing season in the history gymnasium. That one was crazy. That was hard to believe. That the social thing to do in Nashville, in Belmead, West End, whatever, is to be at that basketball arena with the benches on the opposite ends. Yeah. Is Mark Byington reaching out to that Vanderbilt culture of basketball? Because it doesn't have national championships and Final Fours and stuff like that, but God, it's got a lot of interest. And in a city like Nashville, when you can captivate a fan base, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little disappointed in what their crowds have been. I grew up at a time I'd go to games before I did it as a media guy, and you'd have 13,000 people for a Rice game in mid-December or something like that. Now I don't know that they've had more than 10 of their own people in the building all year. It seats 14,316. You're starting to get the thing for football that's crept into basketball, where it's a destination weekend and fans from other schools come, and you got a large presence of the other guys' fans in the gym. And that's always been like a thing for Kentucky, right? And it's always been a thing for Tennessee, because it's got so many alums in the area, of course. And it's starting to happen a little bit in bits and pieces with Alabama or Auburn, or even occasionally like an Ole Miss in a good year. So I just think that they had neglected the fan base for so long that they just haven't built that critical mass back. And some people question whether they can.
And you've talked about it, what they did in football. And that is, you're right. Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, they think, it's a football game. They're going to try and jam the stadium full. So Mark Byington, is he getting NIL money? We know, and you've talked about it, the 35 or 40 families that Vanderbilt always asked about. You got to have money, but Nashville's I would think would be an easy place to recruit to for basketball, football, and certainly baseball with Tim Corbin.
Yeah, it depends on who you talk to, and I won't get into the weeds on this.
Yeah.
It's a weird place. They've had some people that have tried to help them whose overtures have been rebuffed, but they have kind of a way of privately rallying the troops and getting what people need just in the nick of time. So I guess we'll wait and see. I think if Mark Byington is here next year, then probably one or two things happened. Either he got what he needed, or just a job that he wanted didn't come open, or if he leaves, then it's a story.
So you think he is got one foot out the door?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I think the school could have done a much better job of helping him and communicating things to him and partnering with people who wanted to help him that they just kind of refused to do.
Well, not surprised. All right,
No.
Overall in the league, Florida, an elite team. I think Florida is better than they were last year. And
I disagree. I think their guards last year were better. Now, like the bigs inside and the depth, it's unreal. But I give me Walter Clayton and Will Richard and some of the kids they had last year any day over. And I'm not saying Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland are bad, but man, those guys could shoot and score. And those guys, they have gifts, but they're just not the ones that their guards last year had.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is they're better than last year, but they don't have Walter Clayton Jr. And that he was, as a player, he was an elevator for sure. He made everybody – he physically was intimidating and would make everybody play better. But I still think they got a good chance. Not many teams in this country have that many big guys that are that athletic and that productive. So then you look at Alabama. Say whatever you want about Nate Oates. I think every school out there would try to get a Charles Bediako back. 136 foreign players that have already been getting paid for years are on rosters of U.S. college basketball teams right now. So you look at the job Nate Oates is doing. Got the greatest collection of Blazers since Wimp Sanderson. I don't know if that's a shout out to him and respect for Winifred E. Wimp Sanderson, but I think the guy's a hell of a coach. And then you can't help but think a lot Rick Barnes. They're just always there. And then John Calipari. Those are my top four.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama and Arkansas, can the offensive brilliance at times outrun the defensive questions? I don't know if they're effort or lack of ability. I tend to think it's the first. But I mean, defense has been the thing that people have talked about all year, could get each of those teams an early exit. The offense is so good, and in Arkansas's case, Darius Acuff is so good that like he could be that guy that the Carmelo Anthony freshman that you look back and he won a tournament for them. So there's that. I think Tennessee is just – I don't think that Tennessee's got enough offensive firepower with consistency to go on a run, a 4-game run, and win it. I mean, they might, but they got to go up against a Vanderbilt team that just beat them in Knoxville. I don't know if Nate Ament plays tomorrow or not. He's their best player. Vanderbilt beat them without him. And then they got to run into Florida, which is a nightmare for anybody. So to me, Tennessee would be a distant member of the list that you just gave.
Yeah, and Texas A&M, Buckyball.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's gimmicky or whatever, but Buckyball, Bucky McMillan's won everywhere that he's been since he played at Birmingham Southern, which is now a big new training facility. And you mentioned about Darius Acuff at Arkansas, and Dudley Dawson will be on here in a minute. Inside Arkansas says he'll stay 45 minutes after a game, taking pictures and signing autographs with the fans. Kid from Detroit, and is putting a lot back and giving a lot back to what he's earned. Nothing's been given that kid. I think he's one of the better stories in college basketball. John Calipari. I said this about Ryan Silverfield, watching what he did in Memphis. Very close to Frederick W. Smith's family. Fred Smith, the founder and CEO of FedEx, passed away in late July. They had done a $25 million 5-year deal with Memphis. He just inked that big deal with Tyson. And the Tysons have long been Arkansas fans, but they've got money. Who are some teams that are desperate for Nashville? And does the tournament committee really put a lot of weight into your last 10 games, including the conference tournament?
I haven't looked at the criteria sheet this year, whether that's on there. I know that conference record is not on there.
Yeah.
That people keep talking, but it's just not a criteria they use last I checked.
Yeah.
I've always thought they say that they don't undervalue tourney results. I've seen some stuff in the SEC where, when I used to really get in deep in doing my own bracketology, which I'm not really doing this year. I just don't have time. No, I mean, I would like, man, I'd love to, but I've got my hands full with baseball and other stuff. And you got to make choices, not to mention the kid in travel ball now.
Yeah.
But I think,
dude, bro.
Yeah, I know.
I just quit. We're done. Like, I'm going into high school. We're like, this is enough. 6 years on the road. I'm good.
I've got our coach we've known for 5 years, and there's a sanity component there. That's why we're doing it. Otherwise, we wouldn't. But
I feel you, brother.
I think, gosh, where were we? You got me thinking about travel ball, and I lost.
Oh, dude, you're like, do I got all the stuff in the car? Am I ready to go?
Right. That's exactly.
I know, bro. You're like, shit. Did I get that? I gotta get an oil change.
Did you forget your paperwork? Did you get that?
Oh no, that's all done.
I know.
That's
we
in the
were
app,
discussing how I used to spend a lot of time on brackets and making my own, and I would update it after every day, and I'd be like, okay, Texas A&M I think should go up a spot or two, a spot after winning yesterday. They beat so and so who's a 4 seed in the tournament as I've got it, and I would do that exercise, and then I'd get to the end of it and get to Selection Sunday. I'm like, man, these guys didn't seem to consider that at all. Now I can't read their minds. I'm not implying that I see it the way they do, but it felt to me that was one glaring hole. So I don't know. Like, I don't give you in a case of Auburn, where the strengths that Auburn has, it beat Florida. The losses were mostly to good teams. There were some that weren't, but I think a 16-15 Auburn team, you got to at least win one, obviously, because you're not getting in one at 16-16. I would have to think that is a situation where they are maybe digging in on what Auburn does in the tournament if they consider Auburn a bubble team at 16-15. If Oklahoma makes a deep run, maybe. So I just don't know. I would say, well, the committee doesn't consider it, but every year the committee's different people. And, as in any process, we change our ways of doing things. Maybe they say, hey, we didn't give that enough weight. But in the past, I don't think they have given it enough weight. But I don't know, like how in the case, particularly of Auburn and maybe even Texas too, that they're just not really honing in on what they do there, because it might be, those may be teams that are one win or one loss either side of the bubble, and you've got more opportunities here.
Yeah, and thinking about a blast from the past, you mentioned Oklahoma basketball. Remember Billy Tubbs? He looked just like Woody Harrelson in the movie Kingpin. That's who he reminds me of. Somebody, Wayman Tisdale on that team. They were really, really a good team. Chris, flipping over here real quick, I want to step out into baseball. Looking at the rankings, the latest that came out, you got UCLA at 1 and Texas 2, Mississippi State 3, Auburn 4, the Rambling Wreck of Georgia Tech 5, and Southern Miss 6. I was down in Fairhope, Alabama over the weekend talking to some Southern Miss people. They are in. They're drawing 6,000 and 8,000 crowds to their baseball games. College baseball, used to be a West Coast thing, just like softball. But now, Butch Thompson says on here, and we talk to him a lot, you learn a lot when you play Michigan.
Yep.
Or you play a team from the Northeast, because the way they have to practice inside and do it differently. How tough is the SEC this year? Just jump ball, same thing?
I think it's pretty tough. I mean, you never know. Last year I thought was, the last couple of years I thought were almost historically good. And last year I thought the SEC could get 5 or 6 teams to Omaha and got 2. And I was pretty shocked by that. Of course, that the last one standing and that Arkansas in there too, which ran into LSU in the quarterfinals or the semifinals. But anyway, I think it's good. I mean, you're seeing a little bit of bleeding lately with some teams that lost some games or some series that you weren't expecting, like LSU losing to Sacramento State. Holy cow. That was, I'm not going to say it was out of the blue, because there were some cracks with LSU, but I didn't think they were going to end up losing 2 of 3 to a Sacramento State team that was 3-10 coming in. I think the thing that's standing out to me is just when we just about killed off the idea of the starting pitchers that could go consistently 6 or 7 innings and pitch really well.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of that. Like a lot of teams have 2 and sometimes even 3 that have done that a lot. It feels like it's a throwback to 20 years ago. Now, you had a couple more years of run-up time this year, and that probably helped a ton. How much does that continue over as the competition gets better? I mean, it's easy to do it against, Florida International or Mount St. Mary's or somebody. It's different when you're facing Georgia or LSU or someone like that. So I don't obviously know the answers to my own question, but that's one thing that stood out is the depth of starting pitching and the durability and the quality have really been something that stood out.
Texas's Augie Garrido built a legendary powerhouse at that program for a long time. Right now, they're sitting at number 2. Mississippi State at number 3. That's a fixture in baseball. I mean, you go back in the mid-'80s, early 80s, 84, 85, and they had Rafael Palmeiro and Thigpen and Will Clark. They were so good. That's when SEC baseball started coming on TV. Bo Jackson and Auburn, Greg Olson. Look around the league. And then it's just now everybody's pushing baseball. It doesn't take a lot to win in baseball, money-wise. But look at the recruiting base. Tim Corbin at Vanderbilt. If he can get the top players within 300 miles of Nashville, he's got a superpower. It's exactly what he does.
Yeah. If you want a tangent, I'm going to be very interested in how the major league labor troubles are going to affect this in a couple of years. There's a lot of people that think they won't play the 2027 season.
Correct.
You saw when they had the COVID thing in 2020 that they abbreviated the draft to 5 rounds, and you saw some weird stuff happen there. I do wonder, if you don't have a season, then you don't have income. If you don't have income, you've got to pay players signing bonuses. If you don't have a season, you have nowhere to send the guys. I'm looking ahead. I don't know that a lot of people are talking about this, but I think the ramifications of what could happen a year from now, if it happens and they don't play a season, I'm very interested to see how that affects recruiting in college baseball.
Yeah, it looks like college baseball is annuitizing Major League Baseball's popularity because fans in the South, we're following these guys, and they come and they're staying. You have to stay at least 3 years in college before you can go, unless you go straight. And you don't see as many players as you used to going into the minors and then coming back when they're 26 years old to play college football or baseball, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So another thing, you look at this league now, going back to basketball, we're kind of getting back in the tournament. I just don't think they place a lot of weight in it, and I hate that. And you'll see. I mean, right now you've got Duke, Arizona, people love them. Florida, Houston, people love Kelvin Sampson. UConn with Hurley. It's going to be, to me, the same thing as last year. I think your top 4 or 5 teams will end up being the Final Four. SEC, other than Florida, anybody you see that has a chance to win this whole thing?
Oh, I mean, I think, you look at the bottom, Arkansas and Alabama, whoever comes out of that. And like Georgia's been really good. Georgia, since Georgia was dead and buried, I mean, they got some guys that can really score. They got to play an extra day. I think you have to put your money on, if you're going to take another team, Arkansas or Alabama, because they wouldn't run into Florida until that final game. And who knows, maybe Vanderbilt or Tennessee could knock the Gators off. I doubt it. I think Vanderbilt played them close here, but I think you probably have to pick a team from that bottom bracket. And like anybody that plays the first round, I mean, good luck to you, especially in that top bracket where you, again, probably have to run into Florida or a Tennessee team that can grind you physically. I think it's going to be one of those 2 teams in the bottom between Alabama or Arkansas.
All right, Chris, awesome stuff. Let people know how they can follow you, and we'll do it again here very soon. You always have a ton to offer, and we're really going to be digging deep into not just basketball, but baseball and football with you going forward.
Yeah, I always enjoy doing your show, Rob, so thank you for having me. Our SEC stuff is at Southeastern 16. You can find that on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yep.
Right, I think just about anywhere.
I was just looking at the thunder and lightning, man. I mean, it is coming in. Go ahead. Oh, we lost you there for a second. You muted? Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay. All right, Chris. Chris Lee, Southeastern 16. We will talk to you next week. We lost his connection. I don't know if that was lightning that knocked me out. Brendan, can you hear me? Okay. Brendan, I can't hear you. All right. We just got a big storm here, everybody.
Vincent, are you there? And
yeah.
Dudley and everybody?
I'm here.
Okay. Rob, you've caught
Yeah.
Am I back?
You never left, my friend.
You're okay,
sorry.
We had a big...
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't hearing Brendan there for a second when Rob, you were trying to talk to him. So
sorry about that. We had a big bolt of lightning hit. I'm over here in Memphis. I mean, it was a massive. We got a big storm coming in here, so I thought we'd lost everybody. But Dudley Dawson, inside Arkansas. Vince Ferrara, the traveling Volberries, the traveling Volberries, driving to Nashville. Thank y'all both so much for sharing your time with us, man. I'm gonna start with Dudley. Arkansas basketball. Growing up in Memphis, it's a big deal because they always have come into Memphis and grabbed players. What do you think the Hogs' mission is? What do they got to do in Nashville? How much better of a seed can they get? And the same question after you answer it for Vince Ferrara from the Hill.
Well, most of the prognosticators seem to think they're going to be a number 5 seed, whether they do well in this tournament or not. I think if you did well and got to the finals, obviously if you were to win it, then you could move, could move up a line at least and be number 4. And I think that's where Coach Cal and the others think they probably should be anyway, with the schedule they've had. All that being said, they've got to get good play out of their 2 inside guys that along with Trevon Brazile, the Nick Pringle and Malik Ian. And if they do that, then they've got an opportunity to win the tournament. If they don't, then, and that's both tournaments, by the way. If they don't, then they're, could get flipped by Texas A&M in the tournament, who plays so hard and has a very rugged team that, takes it to those 2 big guys.
Yeah. Vince?
Yeah, I think health of Tennessee is a big question mark in Nashville in the SEC tournament. And Nate Ahman has missed the last few games, went down in the first half against Alabama. Tennessee lost that close game. As Alabama had the big come from behind win and didn't play against South Carolina, which Tennessee won. And then, the season finale against Vanderbilt, that Tennessee lost on their home court without Nate Ahman. He's still not back full go at practice yet. It sounded like Rick Barnes would like him if he is healthy and cleared to get some games under his belt in the SEC tournament prior to the NCAA tournament, because then you're talking about rust and he is a young player. It's hard to just jump right in. He also thinks it might be a blessing in disguise because teams have been so physical against him that it's allowing him to kind of recoup physically and probably mentally from, the longest season that he's, dealt with in his young career. So the health of Nate Ahman is big. Amari Evans was terrific for Tennessee in the Vanderbilt game. He really saved their backside and gave them some sort of chance to try to inch closer at the end. They trailed coast to coast for the first time all season in a game. They didn't lead and losing that game to Vanderbilt, and those 2 have split and could meet again in the quarterfinals if chalk proceeds in Nashville. So, Evans tweaked his ankle in that win, in the loss to Vanderbilt. One of the reserve guards, Troy Henderson, is going to need off-season shoulder surgery, but, he's going to do that after the season, trying to grind through with that injury now. They still have good post depth, but, they're inconsistent still in feeding the post and letting their big guys work, whether it's through alley-oops or just throwing the ball down to the post. And Tennessee has just been highly inconsistent. They have potential and they play their best. I didn't go toe-to-toe with anybody, but kind of like, Dudley was saying, depends on which version you get. And Tennessee's floor has been lower than it's been in some other years. They need more to be right to get to that ceiling, and it's just been a minute since we've really seen it. So in terms of seed line, similar. 5 line is where Lenardi has had them. Lenardi said, could they get to the 4? Sure. Have we seen anything to make you think they're going to string 3 wins together in Nashville? Probably not, he said. And then, yeah, they could slip to a 6 also if they're one and done. You know, if they were to lose to an Auburn or Mississippi State in day 1. So, yeah, I think 5 is – I give Arkansas a better chance to get to the 4 line than Tennessee with some wins here in Nashville. But they, unlike Arkansas, would end up meeting Florida in you know the semifinals on Saturday if things go chalk. And you know, Tennessee got handled by Florida, and most teams probably will this time of year against them.
Yeah, Dud.
Yeah, and one of the things I thought was interesting yesterday, Coach Cal did his kind of pre-tournament look at things, and he said that he really hopes Carter Knox plays this year. Carter Knox missed, I think, 6 games now. He was big in the tournament for them last year. The only thing is Carter Knox will not play the rest of the season, Coach Cal thinks, unless Arkansas's in the Final Four. And so that's why he really hopes Carter Knox gets to play later this year. They've done a really good job since he's been out, and really with Saturday without a cup may have been their best win of the year when you put it into context with him not playing and Malik Thomas stepping up and getting his career high 30. Malik Ewing hitting, I think, his 3rd 3-pointer of the year in a big time situation. So they've showed some resiliency, even though I am a huge proponent of having more than 9 guys on scholarship and calling the other guys practice guys. I'm just a huge proponent of having more around. But the dude won 900 games now, so he's pretty good at what
he is. And what, you can have 13 max on a roster. Most teams carry 9 or 10, and then you're going to play 6 or 7 of them. So for both of y'all, the league last year, it was an epically great year. 14 teams in. Vince, I like to ask. I'm a numbers guy. I look at numbers every day for everything. What do you think the league gets in maximum number if everything happens that needs to happen? You're muted. Okay.
Says the host.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Right. Okay.
There we go. Yeah. So I think 11 probably would be best case scenario. I know Lenardi has not ruled out Oklahoma. They would have to make a serious run in this tournament, but they won 6 of their last 8, and the opportunities are there to be some quad 1 type of team. So that that would be insane if they were to get 12 in. But I think 11 is probably the max number. If Oklahoma was to get in, chances are it would replace an Auburn who's teetering. But, hey, they lost against Alabama, and everybody else on the bubble lost too. So that's all a factor. How many bid stealing situations will happen around other college tournaments that could limit, the total, the positions, the cut line will start to rise instead of fall, even if teams win some games. If there's upsets and teams, become a 2-bid league or a 3-bid league instead of a 2, the standard makes it, even more difficult to get in. So I think probably 11 is the max, but maybe 10 ends up being the reality.
Okay. Dudley,
I think Kentucky, is probably going to get in, obviously, but I look at the rest of this first day schedule, and you better not lose on the first day if you were on the bubble, because they're just looking for reasons to put somebody else in instead of you. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast, as they say. Texas better not lose to Ole Miss. I mean, I think they probably might still get in, but again, you're threatening with yourself there. And Oklahoma has made a great run here. Porter Mosier, they already had him out the door and his bags packed and
flowers
all that.
ordered.
And yeah, and he was shaking hands with everybody at their last home game, like this is it. But obviously done a real good job at that. But this first day is going to be very important, as it usually is, and it is even more important when you get it now a 16-team tournament. And I remember didn't there just like to be 2 games on Wednesday or something like that? It seemed like before the expansion. but yeah, you better win today, and I'm thinking 12 is probably the limit. Somebody's going to go home crying.
Yeah, they will. And you think about Darius Acuff. He's there, Boogie Flans at Florida. What if you're not going to have in today's world both of those guys on the same roster probably because of their position. But Vince, you're going to get to Nashville. Where are you going to be setting up, doing your show live? Are they going to have a radio row or a web row or something like that?
No, there's a media area, but they don't have anything set up, unfortunately, for that. I will be out at the Hilton Nashville Green Hills. That's where I'll be doing shows, my morning show and reports during all of 4 of our shows, unless I'm at the arena. When I'm at the arena, I'll be in the media area when I do a quick report, and then get back courtside. Hopefully there'll be seats. It's kind of you guys have been there. It's kind of a free for all. They assign seats, but not everybody shows up. So you can just kind of fill in if you get there at the right times when it's not your game. Usually when it's your game, you have a seat there courtside. I love it. There is no other sport where you can get as close to the action as you can during these tournament type of settings, and just being feet away from the action. You can't get that anywhere else. So I love this kind of stuff, and game after game, and the anticipation, the what ifs, and all that kind of fun stuff. So just looking forward to going back and forth from the Hilton Nashville Green Hills to Bridgestone Arena.
Well,
yeah, I agree with that, because all too often now the media is put up in the stands or in a press box way up there, and I loved being next to it and then listening to a coach critique Doug Schau's thoughts and Doug Schau critique the coach's thoughts, that sort of thing. I mean, I enjoy that type of stuff. The that sometimes I guess the mic picks up, but not often. But yeah, it is a great great atmosphere. It has been every year. Obviously, Kentucky takes a lot of fans, each year, and it's so they're going to have a good first day attendance crowd, I bet today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always look forward to it, and I'm here doing baseball this weekend, but I will keep an eye on it from afar.
Well, you think about this. Kentucky won the SEC tournament 15, 16, and 17. The last time they won it in Nashville, am I correct, was 2018. John Calipari was the coach. They've always been considered a great tournament team. So, Vince, storylines are always a big part of it. But I listened to your interview the other day, Dudley, on the Sports Animal app, 99.1 FM up in Knoxville. You and John Wilkerson were interviewing Tennessee Athletic Director Danny White. Great stuff, about a 16-minute segment. It's really insightful. Your line of questions were attorney-esque. You'd be a great barrister, Vince. I mean, but just bam, bam, bam. And
Your Honor.
Yeah, Your Honor. But what both of y'all are great about, and the toughest thing to do, when you're interviewing somebody, especially if it's on radio, you can't see their eyes. And you don't know, but if you I learned this at Auburn from Dr. Plaskitas, just pause for a second. And if they're telling a story, they'll tell the whole story. And if you cut them off, they won't. But it was a great interview. And you do that every day, 6 to 9 a.m. on the Animal. And Dudley, you're doing great podcast work for both.
Not at 6 to 9. I'm not.
Who's smarter in this situation? Clearly you.
Yeah. Is everybody? Hey, that daylight savings time, it just bam! It just hits like a baseball bat upside the head. You try to get that hour back, but I don't know. I tell you what I do. I take lights out gummy 1/2 at night, and I've caught up. I've caught up quickly. Okay, so what right now? State of college basketball. John Calipari, Rick Barnes, between the two of them, over 1,700, 1,800 wins. We've never had this kind of depth in the SEC win-wise. All right, so I just think that in the interest in basketball, people say, well, it doesn't compare with football. Well, guys, March Madness is upon us, and it starts today in Nashville. So I'm going to let y'all. Vince, Dudley, y'all always like to have notes when you're on here of some stories going on at Arkansas or Tennessee that fans maybe don't know about, but you could tell us about? Start with you, Dudley.
Well, obviously you mentioned it a little in an earlier segment about John Tyson getting in there and unloading he says not 100
some chicken tenders,
so it's probably 99 million. But that was a big deal, and a lot of Arkansas programs besides basketball and baseball, to be honest, have not had the funding that they need to in this college landscape. Now they're going to, and 90% of it is going to go straight via the NIL legal avenues that you have now to the players. I doggone it, I didn't get enough as a manager back in the day. As a graduate assistant, I would have loved to have done that these days. But, I think that's the big thing here around Arkansas. We have sit around here, woe is me, this program doesn't get enough money, not enough support. And, dudes with money can help you, bud.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of passion for the universities. I've said I consider him a good friend, and he usually does not make investments that don't make sense.
I absolutely agree. As much as I stop at the Pilot gas station in West Memphis on I-40 going back and forth across that bridge every day, I feel like I'm a season ticket holder at Tennessee for the Vols orange and white, Vince, because that's another big money source. But what's going on up at Tennessee we need to be knowing about? You're mute. Can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mute it. I haven't touched my mic. So can you hear me?
Sorry. Yeah, I got you now. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So, spring football practice starts on Monday for Tennessee. They'll have a 4-practice work week. And, what does this team look like in terms of their defense with Jim Knowles, the strength and conditioning coach, Derek Owens coming in from Indiana? He's been really impressive, done a couple of interviews, and he says some guys have already gained 15 pounds of muscle in a 6.5-week program. So he's getting after them big time, and they needed it because they were not good at finishing and they needed to be more physical. And I think that will fit with Jim Knowles and what he does defensively. So a lot of intrigue with a lot of new, the most turnover we've had with this Tennessee team roster and coaching staff in any offseason under Josh Heupel. So that is always number one because it's football. And then, I think some people are down on this Tennessee basketball team because they've been inconsistent and they don't give them much chance if Nate Ament isn't there on top of that. So we'll see if this team can come together and do something that they haven't shown, and that's string together extended periods of really good high-level play. And it'll start in Nashville. And then, we'll see in terms of the NCAA tournament, but it looks like they might get sent out west if they do. And then, Lady Vols are in that lull between, the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament that the women's side has. They were one and done. And Kim Caldwell continues to take a lot of criticism. That's part of what we asked Danny White about in the interview that you referenced. And he backs her, but some fans do not. Some former Lady Vol players do not. Some do. And she's not going anywhere. It's just the fans' frustration is pretty high. They'll still make the NCAA tournament, but some fans are ready to move on with the season and kind of start over. And then, softball is the number one unanimous team in the country right now, undefeated at 24-0. One of the best starts ever. And then Tennessee baseball, a little bit inconsistent, but heading into SEC play this weekend at Georgia. So that's always exciting.
The problem with having a history of excellence like Tennessee's women's basketball is that pretty good doesn't cut it.
Yeah,
with the fans. I mean, I was going to attribute this to the same thing as Arkansas baseball. 12-5 on the season, lost 2 to Stetson, so they're ready to roll up the program, put the bats away.
It's over.
Fans, all that. Yeah, they're playing Mississippi State this weekend. It'll probably be 3 shutout games because Arkansas's middle infield can't hit, and Mississippi State scored 26. Arkansas softball 22-2, 15 run rule games. Everything's going pretty good up here, except they're going to shut down baseball.
Yeah, Van Horn, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's time to get rid of him, man. When you
it's past.
When you drive in,
they were saying that last year. When he was on his way to Omaha.
Hey, do yourself a favor. Get to these college towns. Get to Knoxville. God, it's gorgeous. My wife just loves it. It's cooler there. Auburn, she says, is the surface of the sun. It's always 120 degrees in the shade. Fayetteville, when you drive into Fayetteville, you see that Balm Razorback Stadium. Wow, it just takes your breath away. Our chicken tenders on the menu in every household in the state of Arkansas? Chicken tenders, chicken wings, whole chicken.
Razor nuggets.
Hey,
I mean, this is a smart move.
Yeah. Oh my
by
gosh.
him. Because he already had a big share of the chicken industry, but now you just stand as the savior when it comes to NIL and all that. Heck yeah, this brand, they're gonna look at that brand. Hey, that dude, so he's smart.
Yeah,
that's why he's rich.
And when you drive into Little Rock and you see the Stevens Bank building, the largest off-Wall Street investment banking firm in America, which means the world. Okay, so you'd have to go to Hong Kong to see a building like that. I mean, that is, and they're starting. This is what Ryan Silverfield's great at. It's connectivity with the corporate culture. This is one of the smartest and then you start getting the players coming there with them. For both of y'all, I mean, this is what I love right now, the tournament. I'm going to be glued to the TV when I'm going to have it on the radio a lot because I'm going to be out driving. Going to lunch today, my friend Lou Katzerman, huge Tennessee fan. He grew up with Paul Feinbaum in Memphis. Lou is Mr. Tennessee Vol. He's watching right now. John David Badu, a lot of Tennessee fans. Both of y'all, this is what True Grit journalism is all about. All you young people out there watching, our intern Oakley, they still get spring break. He's down in the island somewhere with a bunch of his.
He's probably still studying now.
Yes, study. Yeah, 4 of them to a room, up all night. But anyway, great stuff, both of you. Inside Arkansas, the sports animal in Knoxville. Thank y'all so much. And we will do it again next week. Safe travels to Nashville and Dudley. Great coverage on the baseball. Let me say something. Get out today. Landers Ford. Look over my shoulder right there. LandersFordMemphis.com. It's truck month right now. No payments for the first 90 days. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. They've also got the new location, I-240 and Mount Moriah. Landers Ford, the Broncos, the Ford Escape. You've got the Explorers, the Expeditions, and the service department will provide round-trip transportation. So got to love them always. And also, Vince Ferrara brought to you by Matei's Garage, 4930 Black Road in East Memphis, right by Folks Folly, Poplar Mendenhall. Open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., 5 p.m. Larry Cervetti, CBHS class of 82, is the owner. Bought it from his uncle, Ralph Matei. Great people. Hewlett and Dunn, boot and clothing company on the historic square. Don't forget, hempforpros.com. Bottom line, if you got aches and pains, trouble sleeping, they've got gummies, they've got chill, they have energy, and they have lights out. And also the pain roll-ons, they work. It's a collaboration with the NFL Alumni Players Association. Mike Singletary uses hempforpros.com, okay? And don't forget about your roof, mytownroofing.com. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. For executive producer Brendan Martin, I'm Rob Browne. Keep watching this channel.